Security firm goes on rampage at Jackson's airport. India keen to extend business investment. And parent company withdraws exploration license.
This is National EMTV News with Dennis Orere.
Good evening and welcome to Monday's news. The National Airports Corporation, in a news conference today, clarified the incident that took place this morning. This comes after a security firm ran rampage at the domestic terminal as NAC and Air Niugini staff and passengers at Jackson's airport were caught off guard. NAC Acting CEO Rex Kiponge said legal actions will be made after 2 weeks of investigation.
The National Airport Corporation Acting CEO Rex Kiponge clarifying what took place this morning between two of NAC's security contractors.
Also to reiterate, the actions that happened this morning is completely uncalled and unnecessary.
Acting CEO says the two security firms, Krima and Asila, will be suspended from guarding Jackson's airport for 2 weeks. Within these 2 weeks, investigations will take place and a decision will be made after.
During the 2-week suspension, our aviation security services, supported by our airport police, and if need be, we will call external security forces to man the airport for the time being. We will be doing a full investigation as to the cause of this incident this morning.
An eyewitness and victim of this uncalled-for incident said guards of the firm stormed in with force and destroyed some of NAC's properties.
So NAC
NAC Acting CEO said it is his 4th week in office. He also said the incident is an inherited problem and he will find ways to manage and fix it. Legal actions will be made after thorough investigations within the 2 weeks starting today.
The both domestic and the international terminal at Jackson's airport is as business as usual. Safety is guaranteed, and there is full normalcy at the airport.
Asta Thailam, National EMTV News.
Indian High Commissioner to PNG, His Excellency Sushil Kumar Singhal, says there are great opportunities for business and trade between the two countries. The High Commissioner said India supplies over 40% of vaccines globally and has distributed vaccines to 45 countries so far. The High Commissioner said India is happy to assist PNG in this regard as part of bilateral relations. He says PNG should encourage Indian businesses to invest in PNG as India is becoming one of the biggest investors in the global economy.
You mentioned Indians.
According to the Indian High Commissioner, well before formal diplomatic relations were established between India and PNG, Indians have been engaged in the Oceania region historically as sugarcane plantation workers or other arrangements under colonial administration, thus settling in the places where they worked. India and PNG relations began when Papua New Guinea gained independence in 1975. This was further strengthened with official diplomatic relations established between the two countries in 1995.
And since then, our relationship has been growing by leaps and bounds. And it is not only the political. I'm very happy to mention that, it's not only the political, but encompasses the entire gamut of the relationship, be it cultural, be it political, of course, I mentioned, economic, commercial, and people to people, which is very important. Not many people know there's a very large, vibrant Indian community in Papua New Guinea.
The Indian High Commissioner said although trade between the two nations has been effective, there needs to be more direct trade to enable greater investment.
India and PNG have a bilateral trade in the range of about $200 million annually. And the balance of trade is in favor of PNG. But this does not represent the actual trade which takes place between the two countries, because most of the trade between our two countries takes place through the third countries. And my endeavor during my stay here is that we should have a direct trade between the two sides.
On the occasion of the Indian Republic Day in January this year, which was celebrated by the Indian community in PNG at APEC House, where Prime Minister James Marape, as well as founding father of the nation, Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare, were invited among other dignitaries. Prime Minister Marape encouraged Indian businesses to invest in PNG, particularly in downstream processing projects.
Since you first put in those words to ensure India as a nation, the modern contemporary India is what it is today, and we learn a lot from what is happening in the Indian experience. It's not easy running government, looking after 1.4 billion people. Indian government successfully continues to ensure democracy prevails in a nation of over 1 billion people for the last 72 years. Today, nation almost at 1.4 billion people. Papua New Guinea has a lot also to offer India.
However, the Indian High Commissioner highlighted what is required to enable greater business investment between PNG and India.
What is required is that we have to create an enabling requirement for that. That is, we need to have visa facilities because at the moment they take some time to get the visas, and for the businessman it becomes a hindrance. Other is, we need to sign the bilateral investment protection agreement, because that gives confidence to both sides.
Gender-based violence continues to be an appalling concern in the country. Members of Parliament have taken a step to fight this and support women leadership. The Parliamentary Gbv Committee consists of 20 members.
The Parliamentary Gbv Committee was established in 2020 as part of the efforts of the Parliamentary Coalition Against GBV to address issues of violence against women. At a news conference today, aims of the group were put forward.
To assure the women folk in the country that we are keen to progress all of the matters that are before us, that have been brought about as a result of the summit last year.
NCD Governor Powers Pakop said the committee will use their political platforms to promote women in leadership positions in the country, particularly the parliament.
Commitment as members of parliament, we are committed to taking all the steps that we have to take in order to address this challenge facing our nation. We want to do all we can in the life of the current parliament.
The committee also met to lay plans to push for parliamentary reforms on reserved seat for women in national parliament. A fair election will bring forth good and transparent leaders in representing the people in parliament.
The possibilities of women getting into parliament becomes more and more remote, more difficult. Not just women, but good people, good leaders. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, whilst we are making this effort to bring in representation of women into parliament, what are we doing to ensure that the elections are fair, secure, transparent, and conducive enough to attract the type of leadership that our people deserve in parliament?
Esther Thailam, National EMTV News.
The Australian High Commission announced this afternoon that Australian Medical Assistance Team, or AUSMAT, and vaccines will arrive in Port Moresby tomorrow. Australia is working with Papua New Guinea to support the government's response to the concerning spike in COVID-19 cases. The Australian government will deploy a forward team of 3 AUSMAT health specialists with the first delivery of vaccines for frontline health workers, with an initial rollout for the National Capital District. The specialists will follow quarantine arrangements agreed with the PNG government. Meanwhile, National Pandemic Controller David Manning says by the weekend or next week, the first lot of health workers will receive the vaccination.
It's currently being finalised by both Australian and Papua New Guinean authorities. And as I said, once we get the messaging out there and start having people realize that this the vaccination, whilst it's not mandatory, whilst it's not compulsory, but it is, if presented the opportunity, it is advised that those in the front line, especially our frontline health workers, both public and private, consider being vaccinated with the AstraZeneca. Looking after our health, we've done our utmost best to make sure that they're protected whilst they look after the rest of us. But as I said, we'll continue to engage with the Nurses Association, Doctors Association, our community health workers, and what have you, to ensure that they understand and they have the opportunity to understand what the advantages of being vaccinated with the AstraZeneca vaccine.
There are 2,693 active cases of COVID-19 in the country. Deputy Incident Manager Dr. Belinda Mell said contact tracing is still taking place as new cases are detected every day. Meanwhile, Gbv has recorded its first COVID-19 case today.
Cases at 3,574. In the last 24 hours, we have 215 positive cases reported. Our death still stands at 36. And Gulf Province reported their first case as of today, which means that 20 provinces in Papua New Guinea have reported cases of COVID-19. The only provinces that have yet to have any positive reported are Manus and Oro province. We have, from Western Province, we have 81 new cases reported in the last 24 hours. We have NCD at 53 new cases, East New Britain at 19, West Sepik Province at 17 new cases reported in the last 24 hours. We have Central Province at 11, Eastern Highlands Province at 8, and Morobe Province at 8. This is as of today. We have total tests of 55,411 since the beginning of the pandemic operation. Test pending results, we have 1,787. Total recoveries of those who have had COVID-19 and have recovered, we have 845. We have active cases in isolation at 2,693. We have enough beds for the ones at Greater Plain, and we should be opening up the Tarama Aquatic Center to cater for the rest of the ones that are still being, that are coming up positive and are home isolated as well. So.
You're watching National EMTV News. More of the day's stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. The parent company of New Guinea Sands Limited has withdrawn its application to obtain exploration license to do exploration for sand mining in the north coast of Medang. Legal advisor to the campaign against sand mining, Sir Arnold Ahmed, says they were advised that the parent company made the decision due to the adverse publicity. Ahmed says MRA in a letter advised that New Guinea Sands Limited made the decision because of the negative commentary against the company's reputation.
The Mineral Resource Authority has written a letter to the principal coordinator of the campaign against sand mining, Wenceslao Magun. The letter states that New Guinea Sands Limited, a subsidiary of Powerhouse Group of Company of Singapore, has made the decision to withdraw its application and move elsewhere.
And we understand in the letter that was advised us that the parent company and New Guinea Sands have withdrawn because of the adverse publicity against their company's reputation because of the negative commentary and the campaign that we launched. That
the letter also states that the company's withdrawal has nothing to do with the inadequacy of the Mining Act or the lack of policy guidelines on such exploration or mining activity. Instead, the negative publicity has caused the company to review its in-country activities on such exploration and the economic potential it has on local people and the country.
That's the intent of a campaign like this, to cause negative repercussions so that the proponents can withdraw this kind of mischievous proposal to do development proposals, whether it's the deep sea mining, like in Cholwara 1 in North in the Matanai, or this proposal to explore sand mining, the North Coast.
The people of Sumkilbar LLG of Sumkar district had been protesting against the company to carry out sand mining on the 38-kilometer stretch of the black sandy beaches. In April, New Guinea Sands Limited filed an application to obtain an exploration license to carry out exploration from Murunas to Mulas, where the sand would have been extracted from. In November, a public forum was held by almost 25 villages that would have been affected from this activity. Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Madang.
Madang Provincial Police Commander has issued a strong warning to residents to be vigilant following the recent breakout at Beyond Jail, where 48 inmates escaped. Superintendent Rubiang Manzuk says a combined operation involving police and CS officers had already commenced. Martha Louise with more.
That's my concern. So I need the support from the
PPC warned residents to be cautious as some of the escapees are dangerous. Superintendent Rubiang Manju appealed to the community to report to police if they see any of these escapees.
I'm very concerned because some of these escapees, as I've said, are very dangerous to the community. Better we get these people, it will be safe for the communities too. Especially the most of these are convicted prisoners, and they are from transitory killings and cuttings.
Manju says the existing toll-free number is now active and asked the general public to use the number to call police for assistance.
We already created the toll-free number. We reactivated it again, so it should be open. And everybody knows that, so I need a message or any information or anybody cited, please contact us on our toll-free number.
2 escapees who were charged for armed robbery and attempted armed robbery died at the Modilon General Hospital whilst in the process of receiving treatment. The 2 were shot by police, where both have tried to fire back at police at separate locations and at different times. Another escapee, who is also wanted for armed robbery, is also in police custody. Police have recovered live ammunition and a homemade gun. Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Madang.
Western Highlands Provincial Health Authority will close down Mount Hagen General Hospital if funding is not made available soon. Speaking to EMTV News recently, CEO David Vorst says Treasury Department has given them a warrant for Finance Department to make funding available this week. Services such as the children's outpatient and consultation clinics remain closed, with other services scaling down.
Mount Hagen General Hospital is in dire need of financial assistance to operate. This has left low shortage of medical drugs and other consumables. The hospital pharmacy is also closed, and outpatients have been forced to buy medicines at other pharmacy outlets. Children's outpatient is closed, while the emergency department is seeing emergency cases only, and all elective surgeries are put on hold. Consultation clinic, eye and dental clinics are closed. Patients at each ward have been discharged, while those with serious illnesses that need the nurses and doctors' care remain. However, the HIV and TB clinics will remain open at this time.
At a local level, we're spending nearly 6,000 kina per day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, to make good the shortage that comes out of the central system. And I'm here to assure you that if my doctors and nurses didn't have drugs, they'd be pounding on my office door, because as some of your viewers would realise, in 2015, 2016, when we did have a shortage of drugs in the hospital and in the system, in our provincial system generally, the clinicians got very, very angry. And we've never had that situation again since.
The hospital has exhausted its operational budget collected at the revenue area. This has forced them to also send their short-term contract workers home. WHPHA senior executive management made this decision in light of the drastic cuts of 6.5 million kina from the authority's budget of this year affecting the PHA. WHPHA had received 50% of its budgeted funds for January and 35% for February. The PHA said it was not enough to cover all expenses, such as the purchasing of drugs and medical consumables, food for patients, fuel for the fleets, and standby generator.
It is completely unrealistic to think that you can take 76 million kina out of the operational budget of 21 PHAs and expect them to continue to provide the same level of service.
Over the past weeks, the hospital was unable to transport patients using the ambulance. And with COVID-19 on the rise in the province, isolation beds are limited and the hospital is expected to see the centre overcrowded. Patients with underlying health conditions have told EMTV News off camera that they are scared to go home and will stay at the hospital until the hospital reopens. Vasanatha Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
The Morobe Education Division is yet to repatriate teachers who have retired 5 years ago. This is according to the Provincial Education Program Advisor, Keith Tangui, who stated last week that funding issues has caused the delay. These teachers, mostly from other provinces, are still living in the staff houses, adding more problems to schools and the division.
Currently, we have outstanding...
Morobe's Education Program Advisor Keith Tangui says the Provincial Education Division is yet to repatriate teachers who have retired 5 years ago. This delay, according to Mr. Tangui, was because of funding issues. Some of these teachers are still occupying staff houses, causing inconveniences for new teachers coming into those schools. The Education Division, as the responsible authority, has proceeded to evict these teachers.
Houses like Bugandi, for example, there's about 6 retired people still sleeping in the house there. And we need to get them out. And I gave them a 14-day notice to move out of those houses.
Mr. Tangui says the division needs funds urgently to repatriate these teachers.
It's not only Bugandi, but all over. Primary schools, secondary schools. Retired teachers are still sleeping in the houses, not making way for the new teachers to come in. So that is another big problem. They say, give us a repatriation and we leave the house. So we're going to get all that money. We need that money urgently to get them out of the houses.
The Teachers Service Commission previously managed the repatriation exercise of teachers. It was passed on to the Provincial Education Division. Mr. Tangui said with the delay in this year's provincial budget, the division was forced to borrow funds, especially for the repatriation of those teachers who have passed on while serving.
Because these are dead people. The parents and the relatives, they want the body back in the village quickly. So all we got to do is borrow some money from somewhere and get the bodies out ASAP.
Charlene Airy, National EMTV News, Leh.
The provinces of Hela and Southern Highlands have signed an agreement for the distribution of benefits from the PNG LNG project. It was agreed that benefits from oil and gas fields in Hela will be divided, with 60% to Hela and 40% to Southern Highlands. And likewise, benefits from oil and gas fields in Southern Highlands will be divided, with 60% to Southern Highlands and 40% to Hela. This has been unsettled for 13 years since the Umbrella Benefit Sharing Agreement was signed in 2009. Hela was still a part of Southern Highlands Province at the time this agreement was signed. Hela Governor Philip Undialu explained that to the landowners of PDL 7 area in Hydes, Hela Province recently.
The essence of it is this. Time misanim agreement lo kokopo. Yumi pagi mo kada something ne konset na Southern Highlands and Luwati. Business yumi work when them Hela na Southern Highlands. Time yumi Hela na Southern Highlands one time stubborn set number one business. Number two, interest lo yumi lo kutubu na all gobe na moran. Stubborn set lo oil project time 2 yumi pagi lo Southern Highlands na yumi kam. Number three, LNG project too, you passing the Southern Highlands, you holding the camp. It was a long 13 years of struggle. Ika migam na mi hamas knowledge and contributions lo MRDC, MD one time team lo DP. Now finally, over the leaders lo Hela na Southern Highlands, we agree lo split him this la. So Hela kiss him back 60%. Now me give him 40% go to Southern Highlands as a trade-off. One side not look at me, I would give him 60%. 40% low, will come back.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina opened unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank market this morning. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina will buy $0.2775 US, $0.3545 Australian dollars, $0.3839 New Zealand dollars, and 29.58 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, coffee, cocoa, and copper closed lower, palm oil closed lower. Crude oil is trading lower, and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading lower, and the All Ordinaries is also trading lower.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Despite coming off a loss in their opening match, SP-PNG Hunters coach Matthew Church has credited his team for the fight and determination showed by the Hunters in their 2-point loss to Wynnum Manly Seagulls. Coach Church says such performances are a good omen as the Hunters embark on their toughest season to date.
Runaway Bay.
SP Hunters coach Matthew Church praised the efforts of his team in their opening match of the season. Despite the 2-point loss to Wynnum Manly Seagulls, 20 points to 18, over the weekend, Church has taken some positives from the clash. Church stated that he was proud of his team coming out of isolation.
Second half, scoring through Terry Wapi in the 49th minute.
The way they handled it, but it's been surpassed by the efforts on the field. Church knew that his team wasn't going to be the finished product in the first game. Improvements have to be made, but it was a positive sign to see the fight in the team. The Hunters showcased what league fans love about the team, including bone-rattling defense in the opening minutes that shook the Seagulls forwards, Matthew Love Henry and Max Elliott.
Weekly
Church believed that at halftime his team could get back into the game if they kicked well and showed effort in defense, building pressure and creating attacking chances.
Jesse Arthurs, the Broncos
Wynnum captain Luke Bateman acknowledged that the Hunters gave his team a real scare. The Seagulls were made to fight, with the Hunters defense rattling the Seagulls forward pack.
Barrett scored.
The Hunters will host the Ipswich Jets next Saturday at Bycroft Oval. Huxley Lovai, Trukai Sports.
The weather report is next. Stay tuned for the details.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports. This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
Weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, Alotau, fine and partly cloudy with brief thundery showers at times. Popondetta, patchy rain showers and drizzles. Kerama, partly cloudy with patchy rain drizzles. Daru, partly cloudy with brief showers. Port Moresby, a few rain drizzles and possible thunder, then possible inland fog. To the Momasa region, Ley, few drizzles and cloudy. Madang, patchy rain drizzles. Wewak and Vanimo, cloudy with patchy rain showers and drizzles. In the New Guinea Islands region, Kimbe, brief showers and possible thunderstorm. Buka, brief thundery showers and cloudy. Kokopo and Rabaul, a few showers and cloudy. Kavieng, a few showers, drizzles and cloudy. Lorengau, possible showers and thunderstorms and cloudy. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, rain drizzles, then morning fog. Goroka and Kundiawa, light rain drizzles, then morning fog. Mendi and Wabek, a few rain drizzles, then morning fog.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's the news, sports and weather for Monday, the 22nd of March 2021. Pleasant viewing, be safe, bye for now.